Phil Di Bella here from Been There, Done That, Managing Director and founder of the Coffee Commune, and you're listening to another great episode from people that have been there and done that are experts in their industry and are here to help you accelerate your potential. Today's episode, we're going to talk all things technology, and I have Jacob Kelly, the General Manager of Innovators Direct. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure, and I can't wait to unpack this. So recently we undertook a study that went out. Over 9,000 different pieces of data got analysed. There's a Been There, Done That episode on it. You should actually listen to it. And it uncovered a lot of points in time and what's going on in the cafe industry across Australia. And one of the key ones is that it's not red tape that is the number one problem. It's actually the operator's skill level in how to operate their cafe. We're living in a time where you really do need to work on your business to get the best out of it. And unfortunately, a lot of people are working in their business. And that's what the study found. The number one problem now is skill set. The number one solution behind that skill set was technology, Jacob, and that's why I've invited you on the show as an expert in this space, is that the number one way we found that you can actually counteract and fast-track your skill set is to use technology. So talk us through Innovators Direct to start off with. What problem do you solve and what products do you guys specialise in the field of technology?
Yeah, so our focus is entirely on the hospitality industry. So our whole team is all hospitality background people. We range from like store managers to owners to consultants. And we've utilised our knowledge of the cafe and hospitality industry to actually bring the tech side back in. So we look heavily across pretty much everything from a tech stack perspective. So things like your point of sale, your FPOS machines, printers, your internet, online ordering, all of those sort of things that can start to drive those operational efficiencies within the business. And then we use our hospitality industry knowledge to actually be able to find the right thing for your business. So where we sort of set apart from our competitors is that we actually come in and do an analysis of your cafe and work out based on your workflows, your team and your operational style, what kind of technology is going to suit your business the best. That way we get something that really complements what you're trying to do rather than something you've got to fight against the grain to execute.
I like that. So it's a bespoke service. So anybody that has not explored this, and yes, there are, unfortunately, 26,500 cafes in Australia, and a big percentage of them still don't have a simple POS system. And why a POS? I always say, and I came across this a couple of months ago, one of our clients didn't have a POS, and I said, and I put them straight onto you, Jacob, and you looked after them, but they didn't know what was coming in and coming out. They didn't know what their wastage was, and more importantly, they didn't know what time of day they were busier than others and how they can do their rosters. So this is all the stuff that helps you. So let's talk through one of the major ones is a POS system. So talk us through the importance of a POS system in a cafe.
Yeah, so as you said, obviously one of the biggest things about it is actually the reporting side. Most POS systems will do, all similar things on the front end. They're there to be the ability to take orders. They print out a kitchen docket so the kitchen knows what to make, either a docket or a screen. But the big thing and where it starts to become really valuable for yourself as a business owner is that you get more and more information about how your business is performing. You can look at your busy times. You can look at what's selling well, what's not selling well. You can look at, if you use things like kitchen screens, you can actually look at the time it takes to prepare items. So you can start to look in a lot of cases at the individual item level and go, okay, well, how long does it take me to make a beef burger versus a chicken burger? When you start to look into that level of granularity, you can actually make a lot of better business decisions around how you build your menus and how you structure your teams to start to make sure that obviously you're prepared for those busy windows, but also that you're putting things higher on your menus that sell well and have a great gross profit margin. So the best thing, what you want to focus on is selling the items that are going to profit the best. You want to sell a great experience, but you want to make sure you're making money doing it. So by stacking those items toward the top of the menu, you're going to start to be able to make more money. And you can only do those when you know more about the business and the performance that you've got.
Yeah, loved it. You covered so much, Jacob. And in short, it's data, analysing that data and then building your strategy. And that's the importance. If you don't have a POS system with great reporting, you need to get on to Jacob at Innovators Direct, get him to come and do an assessment on your business and see exactly what you need. So it's bespoke, not one size fits all. But let me tell you that data, then analysis, then strategy is how I run all my businesses over the last 22 years, no matter how small or big they are or become. And the best way to collect data in a cafe is obviously your POS system. And Jacob's touched on a lot of stuff there. So from food costs to timings to what sells best to what gives you better margins to what performs. Because sometimes what happens is, especially with chefs, their egos get in the way and they want that, special cured, quail egg to go with the bacon that was sourced from somewhere, God knows where, and yet it's not making any margin, but you're not selling many, and therefore you're spinning wheels. So You need to know your numbers. You need to be able to analyse them. And a great way to do that is by having a great POS system with obviously good reporting. So what sort of POS systems would you recommend out there?
So we work heavily with Lightspeed, Abacus, and Revel, sort of as 3 different solutions. So we've always tried to push ourselves into a position where we've got options on the table for every business so that we can find something that makes the most sense. All 3 of those systems come in similar price point and have a varied level of feature set. So the idea of having multiple options is that when we do that assessment on the business, we can actually find which one is going to make more sense. You might need something like kiosks, or you might need the ability to group orders together because you're going to take 10 people and you want one kitchen docket sent after you take payment for 10 people. Yeah. So that's when we start to look at those, like that deep dive and that analysis on the business to work out which one of those systems is going to perform best for you.
And whether you seat people or don't seat people, right? Because some people
Correct.
take away only, some are obviously seating, some are table service. So what sort of recommendations around that?
Thankfully, all 3 of them handle, I guess, all of those mixes quite well. So table service versus like counter service is something that most POS systems have got natively supported now. Where some of that starts to change is when you look at the desire to do like QR code based ordering, whether you want to be able to take orders on that space, whether you want to actually go out to the table, or whether you want to take orders at the counter, then give them a table number and walk the food out. So once you start to look at those different intricacies, that's when we can start to look at which of the solutions is actually going to make more sense.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out to the tables, you're probably going to want one that's got more access for remote order pads, so you can walk out with an iPad and take the order at the table. That way you don't have staff members, handwriting the docket, walking back to the till, entering it into the till. That'll add time. That's time that your guests are sitting there and the chefs aren't making their food.
Yeah, and the key there is that, and we'll get segue into this, is that this is why you need the importance of obviously somebody like yourself coming in and doing an assessment and then bespoke building a full program. Because the point I'm about to make, and I want to segue to you, is that a lot of people don't find out till later that a lot of the different programs don't integrate.
Correct.
So let's talk about different, because you just touched on it. Starts with a POS, then obviously it flows down to FPOS and all the rest of it, but rewards as well. So let's touch on the flow through and what integrates and doesn't integrate with each other, because a lot of the QR scans don't integrate with certain systems. So let's talk through the importance of that.
Yeah, correct. So obviously it's always important to find an integrated solution. It's something we've pushed for as long as we've existed as a company, is trying to drive that integrated piece. You'll never find us suggesting a non-integrated FPOS machine or a non-integrated online ordering solution, because the whole point of putting this technology in is to reduce the amount of work that you and your team have to do. As soon as you start putting things like non-integrated FPOS machines in, not only is it more work for that employee, but it's also more risk. If someone does something as simple as missing a zero while they're manually typing in the sale, all of a sudden you only make 10% of that value on that.
Good point.
So it's very important to make sure you do utilize integrated systems. So that's why we work with things like Byte or Mr. Yum or OrderUp for online ordering, because it can integrate with most of those things. We work with groups like Tyro or Lightspeed for their payment solutions, again, for the ability to integrate, because it just creates more and more operational efficiencies and allows you to do more with less staff.
So the key there is what I'm hearing too, because it is about efficiency and cost, right? Let's be honest. Remember, the number one problem is knowing how to run your business. Well, you can't run a business you don't have any data on. You can't run a business if you can't analyze. So obviously utilizing technology is a great way to collect data, analyze the data, and then build strategy. What I'm hearing is, because a lot of people do this, is they break it down and go, oh, how much is your POS system? Or how much is your license fee for Lightspeed? Or how much do you pay per transaction? They should be looking at it as one total cost at the end, because you're searching for integration, correct?
Yeah, correct. Looking at it as a total cost, but then also looking at it less so much as how much money is this one system going to cost me, but more about how much efficiency is this going to add to my business. Yeah. It might actually be that, we find a solution that's going to cost almost double what you're paying today. But you're going to be able to save 5 or 10 hours a week in staff labor. It's worth spending the extra $60 or $80 a month to save 10 hours a week in labor. You're tripling your return on investment. So look at the long haul, and again, why they need to sit down with more of a consulting. You're not buying products when you're buying technology. Let's make it. That's probably a good point to make, right? Yeah. Is that you're not just buying products. For so many years, people just think I'm buying technology. It's not just the product you're buying. You should be getting the expertise and the bespoke service and consulting behind it. And I know that's what you guys specialize in. Yeah, correct. Our big thing is around selling solutions, not products. Yeah. I'm not here to sell a product to people. I'm here to give people a solution that works for their business. And remember, that solution is all around using technology as a resource, as a proactive approach to save you money and to help you run your business, which, as I said, the study showed is the number one problem in small business right now is business owners either not knowing or not having the time to focus on running their business. And obviously that you can utilize technology to speed that up. What are some of the other products that Innovators Direct does as well in terms of rewards as well? So we don't do a huge amount in the loyalty space, but we do work with quite a few products that have that loyalty functionality built in. So for example, like Revel POS or Byte Online Ordering both have an inbuilt loyalty feature. So that way people can start to actually track their customer usage and go, okay, cool, well, I can see, Phil comes into my cafe 4 days a week and consistently buys the same sort of stuff. I'm going to shoot him an email with an offer for those things to try and bring him back, because I've noticed he went from 4 days down to 2.
Great point.
So it's about like capturing that user data as best as possible, which you can do at the point of sale. It's easier to do online because obviously people have to go and actually enter their details when they're ordering, but always looking at how you can capture that user data and then push back out and actually contact those people and go, hey, here's an offer for you. Here's something that makes sense for you, or come back and accrue more points, whatever it might be. For that reason, we work very closely with a product called Byte for online ordering, because they can actually do branded apps. So you can have a coffee commune app on your phone or on your customers' phones that you can then send push notifications out to that say, hey, we've got a new special at the commune. Come in and check it out.
And what sort of costs? So somebody that's sitting there now going, oh, shit, I can't afford that, or I don't know. Give them a cost range to build something like Byte, right? To build your own app, to push out specials or, hey, reminders or thank yous even, right? What sort of cost are people looking at in terms of setup and then ongoing?
Yeah, so a setup cost for something like Byte obviously depends on the point of sale, because we want to make sure that you've got an integrated solution. But assuming you've got a point of sale that can integrate, we'll set up Byte for about $600, and then your ongoing cost there is close to $200 a month.
Yeah, so quite inexpensive if you think about it, right? It's you only have to serve 20, 30 extra customers new, and you're covering it, and that's a month, not a week.
Yeah, correct. You also got to consider that people tend to spend a lot more money when they're ordering online. You can stack those menus so that there's automatic promotions coming up. You're going to go and buy a bacon and eggs, and it's going to offer you to have a hash brown as well. While you hope that your service staff are always going to do that, humans are humans, and when things get busy, they're not going to immediately go and offer every single person that extra piece. Yeah. So people tend to spend more money when they purchase online. Yeah,
and that's a good point, because you can use that as a strategy, Jacob. One of the biggest problems now is that prior to COVID, high disposable income was quite high, so people didn't have to look at getting new customers in the door. They just sold more to the current client base, and that strategy is completely different to now, where the disposable income is low because everything's gone up at the same time, so people got less money to spend. You need to bring in more customers to maintain or grow your revenue, and that is a completely different scenario than selling more to the same customer. Technology can help you with that, right? So something like Byte can help you attract new business. What other technologies help you attract new business?
Typically, we work with things that are more focused then on like ad campaigns and starting to actually drive people getting into the business. We don't do a huge amount in that space, but you can look at a lot of solutions that will allow you to do things like Google and Facebook ads, and then attaching the like the pixel or the code on the back end of that, so you can actually track the investment on that ad coming back. It's one of the biggest challenges for hospitality is if you go and you do an advertisement for your business, it might be like a letterbox drop or a newspaper article or something on the radio. You can't actually track what that return on investment looks like. So it's really hard for you to be able to go, okay, well, we're having a good week this week just because the weather was nice and the staff were friendly and we put that new A-frame out, or was it actually a direct correlation to that advertising you're doing? By looking at using digital advertising tools such as like Facebook marketing or Google or something like that, you can track that return on investment back through.
If they got the right technology set up, obviously in their POS and all the rest of it.
Yeah, correct.
So if I'm somebody sitting there listening to this, and we've got many listeners, which is great, and now over a quarter of all Brisbane cafes are part of the Coffee Commune community, which is fantastic, and congratulations to obviously the family here that's done a great job at the Coffee Commune, and to our wonderful partners like Innovators Direct that work with us. Tell me, I'm sitting there, I'm listening, and I'm saying, well, just give me, Jacob, what do I do next? What's the bare minimum of what I need in my business and what sort of cost? So I'm looking at setting up a business, or I'm using the old pen and paper and hopefully not system. What are we looking at? What's the bare minimum I need to get going, and what sort of cost am I looking at both upfront and ongoing?
Yeah, so I think the bare minimum you're going to need depends on the complexity of the business, but assuming you're in a position right now where you're just handwriting stuff or you're about to open, you can probably get away with just a single register and a printer, and then a cash drawer, whether you're going to take cash or not. So from an upfront cost perspective, you're looking at about $1,000 for the hardware. From our side, part of our, our packages, we actually set everything up for you. So we'll get your menu off you. We'll build it all out on the POS system. We'll bring it in. We'll teach you how to use the POS. We'll teach your staff how to use it. From your side, we'll also teach you how to maintain it moving forward, how to look at all the reporting, how to get the data that you need out of it. So from our side, we start at $1,900 for those services. So all in, you're looking at about $3,000 for to get started.
Yeah.
And then your upfront, your monthly costs ongoing range anywhere from sort of $70 up to $1,000, depending on the kind of program that you're looking at and what you need.
Yeah, so quite inexpensive. You think about it. You're spending $100,000, $200,000, or $500,000, and some restaurants are in the millions of dollars of putting it together. You're looking at about $3,000. It's a must-have. It's not a luxury. It is a must-have for all the reasons Jacob's explained and what it can do and what it can't do. And if you're still not sure, remember this. You need systems in place that collect data, that enable you to analyze that data, to then enable you to build strategy. And if you don't have systems in place to collect data, then you are flying blind, and you certainly wouldn't be driving a car blind. So why would you be operating a business blind when you've got your money and your livelihood invested in it? So have a think about it, and that's why you need to get in touch with Innovators Direct and speak to Jacob, get him to come out and do a appraisal on your business and what you need or don't need, or if you're starting in your business, come and see the guys and see exactly what they do, because that's what we did. That's how we met you guys, Rick. Before you were even part of our communities, we came to you and said, right, this is Coffee Commune. This is a concept. It's the first in the country. This is all the moving parts, and you guys were obviously wonderful, and we still work with you now 4 years later. So people that know me know that I don't recommend something that I don't believe in, because that's my brand on the line. I certainly wouldn't do that. So, Jacob, tell me, what are some of the key things that people get wrong when it comes to technology in their business?
I think the biggest thing that people get wrong is focusing on the cost and less on the benefit. That is always the biggest thing that we find people are getting super worried about is I need to look at cutting my subscription cost. I need to look at reducing the costs here. They don't necessarily consider what the value of all of those things are. So we've worked with a lot of businesses who, particularly over COVID in the last few years where things have been really challenging, and they might have gone from, doing $20,000 to $30,000 a week down to, 12 to 15 or whatever it might be. And it is challenging, and we fully respect that. Those people are always automatically thinking, how can I reduce the subscription cost of my business? How can I lower those constant monthly fees? Which I understand, but what you want to do is more look at how you can continue to utilize those to lower more constant fees, more constant costs, or what the kind of additional cost to your business would be. So, if you wanted to look at reducing the outgoing expenditure of something like a POS system and you get rid of it, you then need to consider the impact that has for how much extra labor you're going to have to spend to get those sales. And then obviously the lack of data that you get, the inability to understand how your business is performing.
Yeah, or paying an accountant at $300, $400, $500 an hour to analyze the data that POS system can do for you. So guys, you've got to think, don't stay in the moment when you're thinking costs. Don't be reactive, be proactive. It might cost you $5 now, but it'll save you $10 later. It might cost you $2 now, but it's going to cost you $20 later. So, just think about that. I normally say that what's easy now becomes more difficult later. When you're setting up a business, if you're looking at setting up from scratch, set it up properly. You certainly wouldn't be setting up a race car with no safety, seat belts in it. It's not an afterthought. It's part of the vehicle, and POS and the technology that goes around that, and is part of the setup costs of a business. And if you don't have it now, you need to get it. Let's talk through the key metrics of what a POS system does. Right? If they're not sold on it already or don't understand, or maybe there are some people there that have got POS systems and don't utilize it. What are the key metrics and the key reporting that you would be using that amazing tool to do for you as a cafe or restaurant owner?
Yeah, I think some of the things that people don't necessarily tend to look as much at when they need to. Obviously, top line revenue is a super important statistic because that's the top thing you need to be conscious of. But other key things that your point of sale will almost always give you is things like your average check or your average transaction value.
Per customer, yeah.
Per customer, yeah. So a lot of people don't necessarily look into that as deeply as they should. But we've recently started helping a business track their business performance across all things from sales to wages to expenses. And one of the things that we've made sure to highlight is that average transaction value. So you can actually watch the dips and rises of how that's performing, and you can immediately see the difference to the business. They're going to still do 200 transactions a day, but a $2 difference in that average transaction value is $400 off the top line. Yeah. If all that needs is for someone to be that little bit of prompted or that reminded, hey, go and make sure that you're upselling today. Or, have you asked that person if they needed a drink with their food. All of those little bits and pieces start to drive that average transaction value back up. Yeah. And that can make such a massive difference to your top and bottom lines.
Yep, another key metric, and I mean, just on that point, when people say to me, how do you know that the industry's gone to disposable income's down? I said, I don't make comments that I don't have the data, and because we've got that beautiful feature, I can tell you through our data that expenditure is down 30 to 35% per transaction. So what you need to do to increase your business or maintain it, is to increase your transaction number. And I can tell you, our average transaction was $19.45 this time last year. It's now down to $14 and about 12 cents per transaction. But we're up about 30% in terms of our traffic. So our revenue has grown slowly. But imagine how much our revenue would have grown if we were doing the 30% more transactions, but $4 to $5 more a customer, or not a customer, per transaction. And see, I know that data, and then I can comment on that data and comment on the industry because I've got the systems in place. So it's so important. Average spend, what else the data does it give us? Wages, the key one for me is the wages per hour. So as in your wages relative to your takings per hour.
Yeah, so that's something that not a lot of POS systems will do. So a lot of systems now sort of focus on doing something right or doing one thing and being an expert in that one thing. So you look at a lot of POS systems and they focus on point of sale. That's when those integrated solutions start to come in. So you would use a system like Deputy or Tanda to actually give you your wages. Both of those systems have the ability to do rosters and onboarding employees and manage all of your payroll and all of those sort of things, which is phenomenal extra features. But then you can start to look into their individual reporting. So they'll rip the sales out of the POS through the integrations and start to be able to give you that labor percentage figure or that labor per hour per sale. So you can start to look at how much money you have to spend to be able to make money again. So it's really important to start to use those systems and actually understand that rather than going, yeah, okay, we're pretty busy. We can, we need 6 people on. Once you start to have that data, you can look and you can go, okay, well, we might have 6 people on, but we're still sitting at 35% wages. Maybe we need to bring that back down.
Well, one of the things we've done a lot of is we look at people's data per hour trading and we say, well, you're making 90% of your money between, say, 6 and 12 p.m., but you're opening till 6 p.m. So you're actually making money in the morning and burning it in the afternoon. Again, I keep coming back to that data analysis strategy. So in that position, you'd say, well, hang on, let's close the cafe at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, not 6 o'clock at night, because per hour we're losing money. Or worse, we're rostering the same amount of people in the afternoon as what we are in the morning. So there's all the things that obviously technology can help you use to run your business. Now remember, we're in business performance quarter. That's what this quarter is all about at the Coffee Commune and the Bean. They've done that podcast. We're here today with Innovators Direct. Jacob Kelly is all about sharing his knowledge and expertise and a lot of it on how you can perform better using technology in your business right now. Tell me, one of the things that you hear a lot about is people asking which system is best, and there's all people pushing all different stuff out there. So coming at it completely objective, right? Because I know you're very objective, Jacob, and because you consult rather than sell products. Tell me, what demystify some of the bullshit that goes out there about brands and, use Tyro, don't use Tyro, use Lightspeed, don't use Lightspeed, use this, don't use that, don't use a bank FPOS, use this. Tell me some of the things from your experience that you're hearing and seeing out there that people should be aware of.
Yeah, so a lot of people obviously have either brand allegiance or the complete opposite, which is a hatred or a upset about a brand. No technology solution is ever going to be bulletproof. That's the sad reality of the way the world is. Things will break, things will stop working, and it happens to everyone from small POS systems or banks with their FPOS to groups like Square, which have got billions of dollars and running massive enterprises around the world. And all of those businesses are at the whim of technology not working properly. A lot of the people who will then push you in the direction of this product or that product, or don't touch this product, don't touch that product, it's typically because they've had a bad experience. It's always worth, even with that bad experience in mind, considering what the good experiences are. Like you may have had an issue with your FPOS that stopped you being able to take payments from 2 to 3 on a random Friday last year, and you go, oh, wow, that was really impactful. It was, but were you getting a better rate? Were your customers being able to save money on their surcharging? Were you able to make more money through whatever by having that FPOS solution in place? Was it able to integrate with your POS system and reduce those expenditures? All of those little bits and pieces where, like, sure, not being able to take FPOS transactions for 1 hour on a random Friday last year is probably very impactful, but the value that adds throughout that, like the rest of the year, is far outweighing the impact of it. And that's not just FPOS solutions. Everything will do that. From technology, your internet will drop out. We're in Australia. Everyone loves the NBN. Yeah. Things like that are always going to be a challenge. And things like, you've got to consider the technology and the fact that you're going to get all this advice from people saying, oh, this is good or this is bad. But you need to take that step back and go, okay, cool. What do I really need? And then hone in on what you need in your business to succeed and picking something that is going to succeed for you. Most technology businesses give the ability online to look at their stability, and you can look at, they've got a 99.8% uptime. And you go, okay, cool. I can work with that. Yeah.
So tell me, what should a cafe owner be very wary of when they're looking at a POS system and who to choose and who not to choose? What should be high alert for them?
I think it does depend on the business, but some of the things I definitely think are worth looking at is just around the hardware compatibility is always a big thing. If you find POS systems that want to sell you old school cash draws and they want to promise you the world on reporting on them, it's probably not going to work out as well as you think. And similarly with systems that can work with really, really cheap hardware, it sounds great because it's a lower cost of entry, but what you'll find later on down the track is that cheap doesn't always mean good. And you might end up spending 3 or 4 times as much to replace everything 6 months down the track because you've had to buy a better system rather than actually investing in the right system in the start.
Yeah, key one there for me is make sure you're prepared and get it right, and make sure that it's not a luxury or a like to have, it's a need to have, and get it right from the start. And the big one comes back to what you guys offer differently at Innovators Direct is you're not pushing products. So always be wary of the person pushing a product versus somebody that's pushing a solution for the best of your business.
Yeah.
Tell me, what does the future look like in terms of this space? Any new innovations in play? Any new technology? What does the future look like in the space of POS and technology?
So there's a lot happening in this space. There always is. If you subscribe to technology podcasts or look at technology-based news, there's a new product launching every day or many products launching every day. I think some of the big things that are going to be a key takeaway for hospitality businesses is actually the push around loyalty. There's a lot of progress between POS systems and FPOS solutions and online ordering companies to start to work together to be able to create what's called omni-channel loyalty. So that's the ability for your customers to order at the POS, order through a QR code, order from their office three blocks away, and accrue loyalty points and continue to grow their business. So there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes between quite a few companies at the moment to look at how they can push those kind of solutions out. Currently, there's a few solutions in play by bigger groups like AVC or ALH, which is Coles and Woolworths branded hotels and pubs. So there's a lot of work happening to be able to offer the same amount of technology or the same service to smaller businesses as well. You don't have to be AVC or ALH now to access such good ability to service your customers.
Yeah. So again, you're hearing from Jacob Kelly, Innovators Direct. The key is to pick up that phone, ring the guys and get them to do a bit of an assessment on where you are and where you need to be, so that you can collect that data, build the analysis, make the analysis of the data, and then build the strategy to make sure that you are sustainable and profitable and accelerating your potential. To finish up, Jacob, tell us a little bit about the size of Innovators Direct. So, because you guys, I'm not sure how many clients you're up to now, and what you guys actually specialize in, because you specialize in hospitality. But what's the key go-to, and how many clients are you guys now servicing?
I don't have the exact figure. We're about 700 clients now that we service across the country. Most of those are Queensland-based, but we do work with quite a few people up and down the East Coast, and a couple of customers over in Perth and South Australia as well. We are a small team. We've only got a team of 6 at the moment, 6 or 7. 7 people at the moment.
You got to count yourself there, mate.
To be honest, I often forget Chewy. But, our big focus is around making sure that those customers are looked after, making sure that people who need help have got the ability to help. So we offer 24/7 around the clock technical support, so that if something goes wrong, we're there for you. If you want to actually just accelerate your business, I need to understand a little bit more about this particular statistic in my business, or, oh man, I'm going to add a new special and honestly I've forgotten how to do it. We're available 24/7 to actually help with all of those things, and that's part of what we do. That's different. How we give back.
Yeah. No, it's great. And Jacob, it's been great to have you on the show. It's a proactive approach to technology. Remember, this is business performance quarter, and nothing is going to help you. Not many things are going to help you much more than an amazing POS system and technology in your cafe or restaurant when it comes to performing better in your business. Jacob, thanks for sharing your wisdom today on Been There, Done That.
Thanks for having me, Phil. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Until next time, guys, we should always be looking at how we can be better tomorrow than today. We should be looking at accelerating our potential, and that is why no doubt you're listening to Been There, Done That, where we bring industry experts in that have achieved many things in their industry and can help you accelerate your potential. Until next time, go be the best you can be.